Okay. Aside from measures of central tendency, so we have also the measures of variation or the measures of variability. So dito naman mine-measure natin yung variance or yung spread ng data dun sa ating center. So we have the range. For ungrouped data, exclusive range is used where it is the difference between the largest score and the smallest scores in a given distribution. So madali lang yung pagkuha ng range kapag ungrouped data. So ang formula lang natin is the highest value minus the lowest value. So for example, meron tayong data na 1 to 10. So ang highest value is 10 and lowest value is 1, meaning yung range ng data natin is 10 minus 1 or equal to 9. Then for group data or inclusive range is used when it is difference between the exact upper limit of the class interval containing the largest score and the exact lower limit of the class interval containing the smallest score. So kukunin natin ano ba yung class interval na merong highest value and also the class interval na merong lowest value. So, dun tayo sa ating example na sa previous nating example. Ito. So, yung ating example na meron tayong 60 student or meron tayong data na 60 score sa exam. So, yung ating value ay nasa range ng or nasa class interval na 90 to 99. So meaning yung ating exact upper limit is 99.5 and also yung ating lower value ay nasa class interval na 10 to 19. Sa 10 to 19, meaning yung ating exact lower limit is 9.5. To determine the inclusive range for this data, so ang gagawin lang natin is yung exact upper limit or 99.5 minus 9.5 or equal to 90. So 90 yung ating range for this group data. So then we have the quantile or the fractile deviation. So we have the percentile, the decile, and also the quartile deviation. So for the PD or the percentile deviation, so yung formula natin ay PD is equal to P sub 90 minus P sub 10. I-identify muna natin yung P sub 90 at P sub 10. So yung percentile deviation is for ungrouped data. Wala akong natatandaang formula to find PD or percentile deviation kapag group data. So percentile is the point in a distribution below which the specified percent of the cases of observation lie. So percentile are values denoted by P1, P2 up to P sub 99 are such that 1% of data falls below P1, 2% falls below P2, and 99% falls below P99. So ang gagawin lang natin dito to find the percentile division, kukunin natin yung value or yung score na andun sa na nag-fall dun sa P sub 90 at sa P sub 10. Then kukunin natin yung difference to find the percentile deviation. So for example, meron tayong data or values from 1 to 10. So meaning meron tayong n is equal to 10. Kunin natin si P sub 10 at si P sub 90. So for P sub 10, 10 times 10 over 100 is equal to 1. Then, for P sub 90, 90 times 10 over 100 is equal to 9. So, meaning yung P sub 10 natin ay yung first value and P sub 90 natin is the 9th value. So, i-arrange din natin yung data natin from lowest to highest. So, ano ba yung unang value natin? So, kung 1 to 10, ang P1 natin or ang P10 natin is equal to 1. And for P sub 90, So, alin ba yung 9 value from 1 to 10? Yung 9. So, meaning, ang P sub 90 natin ay 9. So, 9 minus 1, ibig sabihin, ang percentile deviation is equal to 8. So, ganun lang yung pagkuha ng PD. So, then we have the decile deviation or DD. So, yung formula naman natin is D sub 9 minus D sub 1. So, ganun pa din for ungrouped data. Kukunin lang natin yung D sub 9. Now, formula natin is 9n over 10 and then D sub 1 is equal to 1n over 10. So, deciles are values that divide a set of observation into 10 equal parts. So, kung yung sa percentile, nakabase tayo sa 100 or 100%. So, si decile naman nakabase siya sa 10 equal part only. So, these values denoted by D1, D2, up to D9 are such that 10% of the data falls below D sub 1, 20% falls below D sub 2, and 90% falls below D sub 9. So, for example, yung ating data kanina na meron tayong 1 to 10 na value, so ibig sabihin n is equal to 10. So, ganun na lang yung example natin para mas madali nating makuha yung ibig sabihin ng decile or nung different deviation. So, kunin natin yung D sub 1 and D sub 9. So, basta dapat i-arrange muna natin yung values from lowest to highest. So, si D sub 1 equal to 1 times 10. So, 1 times 10 is 10 over 10 is 1. And also, D sub 9 is equal to 9 times 10 is 90 over 10 is 9. So, D sub 9 minus D sub 1, hindi siya 9 minus 1 na direct na kung ano yung nakuha mong D9 at kung ano yung nakuha mong D1, yun ay yung gagawing or yun na yung kukuhanan ng difference. So, bali, ang gagawin mo muna, aalamin mo dun sa value, alin ba yung D1 natin and alin ba yung D9. So, since same lang naman, since ang ginamit nating example is 1 to 10, wherein ang D1 niya ay 1 at ang D9 niya ay 9. So, ganun pa din. Ang ating DD or the decile deviation is 9 minus 1 or 8. Pero sa ibang example, hindi palagi na gano'n na si D9, kung anong lumabas na value ni D9 ay isusubtract na agad kay D1 na value. So, kukunin mo na yung mismong value. Alin ba yung pang first and ninth value. Then, we have also the quartile deviation. So, for quartile deviation or QD, so yung formula natin is Q3 minus Q1 over 2. Kukunin muna natin yung third and first quartile para makuha natin yung quartile deviation. So, for ungrouped data, yung formula natin para makuha yung Q3 is equal to 3n over 4. And for Q1, equal to 1n over 4. So, quartiles are values that divide a set of observation into 4 equal parts. So, balikan lang natin. So si percentile, so nakabase siya sa 100. Then, si decile naman sa 10 equal parts and si quartile is into 4 equal parts. So, these values denoted by Q1, Q2, and Q3 are such that 25% of the data falls below Q1, then 50% falls below Q2, and 75% falls below Q3. Then the other falls below Q4. So, for group data, so yung formula natin na gagamitin is Q3 is equal to L, or the exact lower limit of the class interval containing P sub P, plus so 3n over 4 since Q3, so yun yung i-apply natin na formula minus the cumulative frequency below the class containing P sub P over the frequency of the class times the class interval. Then for Q1, so papalitan lang natin yung nandun sa may numerator since ang hinahanap natin ay Q1. So ganun pa din, exact lower limit plus 1n over 4 minus cumulative frequency over the frequency of the class times the interval. So para makuha yung QD or the quartile deviation, so ganun pa din. Babalik tayo dun sa kanina, yung Q3 minus Q1 over 2. So yun yung ating formula pag group data and also yung kanina for ungrouped data. So, proceed tayo sa isang example. So, a random sample of employees from a local manufacturing plant pledged the following donation in dollars to the United Fund. So, 100, 40, 75, 15, 20, 100, 75, 50, 30, 10, 55, 75, 25, 50, 90, 80, 15, 25, 45, and 100. So, calculate. So, letter A, range. So, kunin natin yung range. So, sabi kapag ungrouped data, so ang tawag sa kanya ay exclusive range, or yung formula natin is the highest value minus the lowest value. So yung range natin equal, ano ba yung highest value natin? 100. Then minus, ano ba ang lowest value natin? Ang lowest value natin equal to 10. So, ibig sabihin ng ating exclusive range equal to 90. Then, for the percentile deviation, so, para makuha natin yung percentile, decile, and quartile deviation, i-arrange muna natin yung ating data. Arrange natin yung data. 10, 15, 15, 20, 25, 25, 30, then 40, 45, 50, 50, 55, 75, 75, 75, 80, 90, 100, 100, and also another 100. So kung makikita nyo, meron tayong 20 na n or 20 na data or 20 na values. So, kunin na natin yung percentile deviation or PD. So, yung formula natin ng PD is equal to P sub 90 minus the P sub 10. So, kunin natin yung value ng P sub 90. Yung formula natin, 90n over 90n over 100. So, 90 times 20 over 100 equal to 18th. So, alin ba yung pang 18th na value? So, ang pang 18th na value ay 100. Minus, yung pita natin, 10 times 20 over 100 is 2 or second. Ang second natin is 15. So, ibig sabihin, yung ating PD is 100 minus 15 equal to 85. So, yan. So, yan yung ating percentile deviation. So, for decile deviation naman, or PD is equal to D sub 9 minus the D sub 1. So, kunin natin si D sub 9. So, formula natin 9n over 10. So, 9 times 20 over 10 is equal to 18 pa din. And D sub 1 natin is 1 times 20 over 10 is equal to 2 or yung pang second value pa din. So, ibig sabihin, dito sa ating in-arrange from lowest to highest, ang pang 18th value natin ay ito, 100. Then, ang second value natin is 15. So, 100 minus 15 is also 85. So, parehas lang yung percentile and decile deviation. And for quartile deviation, ang formula natin is Q3 minus Q1 over 2. So, kunin natin ang Q3. Ang formula natin ng Q3 ay 3n over 4. So, 3 times 20 over 4 equal to 15. O alin ba yung pang 15 na value? So, ang pag 15 value natin is 75. Then, for Q1, 1n over 4 or 1 times 20 over 4 is 5 or pang pip value. Ang pang pip value natin is 25. Divide natin sa 2. Ibig sabihin, ang ating quartile deviation equal to 25. So, yan yung range, percentile, decile, and quartile deviation for ungrouped data. So, try naman natin yung example para makuha natin yung quartile deviation for group data. So, balikan natin yung ating naging previous sample where n is equal to 60. So, ito yung ating table. The class, the frequency, the cumulative frequency, the boundary, and the class mark or the midpoint. So, kunin natin yung Q3 and Q1 to determine the quartile deviation. So, yung formula, Q3 is equal to, so, exact lower limit, so, plus 3n over 4 minus cumulative over frequency times I. So, ganun din naman yung Q1 na iba lang ay ito, yung 1n over 4. So, proceed tayo sa Q3. So, una, ang gagawin natin, kunin muna natin yung kung nasaan ba yung value ng quartile 3. So, gamitin natin yung formula nung sa ungrouped data, yung 3n over 4. So, 3 times 60 over 4 equal to, so 180 over 4 equal to 45th. Then for Q1 equals to 1n over 4 equals to 60 over 4 equal to 15. Then, tingnan natin dito. Asan ba yung 45? So, cumulative frequency. So, ibig sabihin, ang ating, ito ay 42, nandito yung 45 sa 80 to 89. Then, yung 15, andito sa 17, sa 50 to 59. So, kunin muna natin yung kay Q3. So, exact lower limit containing P sub B or yung sa ating Q3 is ito. Exact lower meaning 79.5. Ito. 79.5. So, kunin muna natin yung sa Q3. So, 79.5 plus so, yung 3n over 4 natin equal to 45. So, 45 minus, ano yung cumulative frequency natin? Below. Ang cumulative frequency natin below is 42. So, 42 i-divide natin sa frequency. So, ang frequency natin nung 80 to 89 ay 14. Divide 14 times ang ating class interval ay equal to 10. So, ano ang Q3 natin? Q3 is equal to, compute natin. So, 45 minus 42 divide 14 times 10 plus 79.5 equal to 81.64. So, 2 decimal yung gagamitin natin. Then, for Q1, so, identify natin yung sa Q1. nandito yung ating 15. So, 50 to 59. So, ang ating exact lower ay 49.5. So, 49.5 plus ang ating cumulative frequency below ay 12. So, ibig sabihin dito, 15 minus 12 over ano yung frequency ng 50 to 59? 5 over 5 multiply sa class interval natin na 10. Ibig sabihin ng ating Q1 equal to for 15 minus 12 divide 5 times 10 plus 49.5 is 55.5. So, yan. So, pwede na natin kunin yung QD. Quartile deviation is equal to Q3 minus Q1 over 2. So, yan na yung value. Hindi na kayo titingin dun sa table. Yan na yung mismong value. So, equal to 81.64 minus 55.5 divide 2. So, ang QD natin equal to 81.64 minus 55.5 divide 2. So, 13.07. So, yan kapag group data. So, next is the average or mean deviation. So, the variance and the standard deviation. So, for the average or mean deviation, so para naman din tong katulad nung ating sa central tendency na mean. It is the sum of the difference between scores or class mark and the arithmetic mean divided by the total frequency of the sample. So, for ungrouped data, so yan ang ating formula, summation of absolute value of x of I minus x, where I is equal to 1 up to n over n, where x of I is the raw scores or observation. Then, for the average or mean deviation for group data, so AD or the average deviation is equal to summation ng x of I minus x times the frequency, where I is equal to 1 up to n over n. So, may additional lang. Nag-multiply tayo ng frequency kada value na makukuha natin yung difference between x of I minus x. Then, kukunin lang natin yung summation. Then, same lang din naman yung another formula kasi si x of I is class mark and m is midpoint. So, same lang naman sila. Nabago lang is yung paggamit ng variable x of I and m. Pero parehas lang, either or both pwede siyang i-apply or gamitin. Then for variance, a measure of the dispersion of scores in a distribution away from the arithmetic mean. So, yung ating variance kapag ungrouped data, meron tayo diyang formula. Then for population and sample. So, kapag population, ang denominator natin is n. And kapag sample, ang denominator natin ay n minus 1. Then kapag population din, ang ating symbol is sigma square. Then kapag naman sample, ang ating symbol ay s square. Then for variance for group data, so yan yung ating formula. So, summation ng frequency times x minus mu squared over n for population. And for sample, summation of f times x minus x bar squared over n minus 1. So, difference niya is sa denominator. The next, so we have the standard deviation. So, a quantitative measure defining the extent to which scores are dispersed throughout the distribution in relation to the arithmetic mean. So, the square root of variance. So, pwedeng isa lang ang tandaan natin. For example, sa formula, pwedeng variance lang. Then, yung square root ng variance ay standard deviation. So, yung sa ungrouped data, so ito yung ating formula. At ito naman yung for group data. In-square root lang natin yung formula ng nasa variance. So, balik tayo kay variance and standard deviation. So, for ungrouped data, so meron tayong shortcut sa calculator or pagkuha. So, bali, kung meron kayong calculator or scientific calculator, so punta lang kayo dun sa mode then stat, tapos 1, ilalagay natin yung value. Yung parang na-discuss ko ng pagkuha ng average or the mean. Then, pag nalagay mo na yung data, then AC lang, yung key na AC sa calculator, then shift 1, then punta ka dun sa variance na number 4. So, kung makikita mo dyan, yung N, X bar, yung sigma symbol, tsaka yung number 4 ay yung SX. So, yung number 3, so yan ay standard deviation for population. Then, number 4 naman is the standard deviation for sample. So, sa calculator, ang nakukuha natin is the standard deviation. So, para makuha mo yung variance, i-square mo lang. Halimbawa, sobrang haba ng mga given na value, madaming, for example, n is equal to 500. So, input mo lang sa calculator, then para makuha mo si standard deviation and variance for ungrouped data, so gumamit ka lang ng calculator, then kapag standard deviation ang hinahanap, automatic yung nasa calculator, yun na yung sagot. Then kapag variance naman, i-square mo lang yung standard deviation. Kasi nga, ang square root ng variance ay equal to standard deviation. So, yun lang yung technique natin sa calculator. Okay, so proceed tayo sa example. So, the salaries of the faculty of a certain university are shown below. So, the annual salary and also the number of faculty. So, ito ay example ng group data. So, determine the following. So, the average deviation, so the variance, and also the standard deviation. So, isolve natin siya through Excel. So, binago ko yung position ng salary. So, range from lowest to highest. And syempre, yung kanyang frequency. So, first, kailangan mo munang kunin yung class mark or the midpoint. So, for salary, 19,000 to 28,999. So, yung kanyang midpoint or the average is 23,999.5. So, since yung ating class interval is 10,000, dadagdagan lang natin siya ng 10,000. So, ito ay 33,999.5. Ito ay 43,999.5. And ito is 53,999.5. So, after nating makuha yung kanyang class mark or midpoint, so kunin na din natin yung F times M kasi kailangan natin siya sa gagamitin nating mean ng data. Kailangan natin kunin yung group mean para sa gantong data. So, F times N, so i-multiply lang natin yung frequency sa class mark. Then, hilahin lang natin. Then, kunin natin yung kanyang sum. Ang sum ng FM ay ito. So, para makuha natin yung mean natin, equal to summation ng FM, divide natin sa N, yung ating, so ibig sabihin ito yung ating mean, 40,437.9. So, unahin natin si average deviation. So, yung formula natin, summation ng absolute value ng class mark minus mean times the frequency over N. So, una, kunin muna natin yung class mark minus mean o yung the difference. So, ito ay absolute value. Then, after, i-multiply natin siya sa frequency. So, equals absolute value ng m minus the mean. Then, after, lagyan lang natin ng dollar sign. Ito. Para pwede na nating hilahin. Yan. Then, hilahin lang natin. So, yan yung kanyang m minus x. Then, to determine m minus x times f, ito, multiply lang natin sa frequency. Then, hilahin lang natin. Yan. Then, kunin natin yung kanyang summation or yung sum. So, yan yung kanyang sum. Ibig sabihin, pwede na natin makuha yung average deviation. Formula natin, summation ng m minus x times f. So, ito, i-divide natin sa n. So, 73. So, ito yung ating average deviation. So, yan. So, proceed naman tayo sa pagkuha ng variance. So, yung formula natin ng variance, summation ng f times x minus mu squared over n. So, since population yung data natin, so, symbol natin is sigma square. So, kunin natin si m minus x square or times m minus x. Yan. So, equal to, ito yun. Itong data na to. Then, i-multiply lang natin siya sa isa pa. F4 times F4. So, yan. Then, hilahin lang natin ulit. Then, after, kunin natin yung m minus x squared times the frequency. Equal, ang frequency 8, apply lang natin siya dito. Equals, yan. So, kunin natin yung sum. Then, para makuha si variance, equal to, ito, i-divide natin sa 73. So, yan yung ating variance. Then, for standard deviation, so, kunin lang natin yung square root ng variance. So, yan yung ating standard deviation. So, pwede naman natin siyang i-manual solve. So, ganun din yung lalabas. Yan. So, ito yung ating answer.